Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom. We are on the second day of Passover, the first day of the counting of the Omer, and within hours of this transmission, we are going to be welcoming in Shabbat. You haven't seen me in a month, and I just know how much all of you are missing me so much. And so instead, I've taken the liberty of inviting myself into your living room even now. I am not Elijah, but you have invited me into your living room for this Shabbat. I know that you didn't set a place setting for me, but that's okay, because there are some things maybe I shouldn't talk about, like, Alan, I think there is a bagel stashed away in your briefcase. That is just not cool. I come to you to bring you something a little bit uplifting, something to smile about. There are certain oddities about Passover that I want to run past you, and hopefully we'll all feel a little encouraged. Maybe it'll bring a smile to your face. But one of the Passover oddities that I find so curious, when we think about Passover, if we were to think about an individual, a hero of the entire narrative, we would think about Moses. And so I want to pose to you a question. How many times does the traditional Passover Haggadah mention the name of Moses? Well, the answer is one and done. The lone reference would be within the biblical reference to Exodus 14:31, where it reads, "And the people feared the Lord, and they believed in the Lord and Moses." Non-traditional Haggadot are all geared with teaching purposes, and so they will contain many biblical references with Moses. But the actual traditional Haggadah of Passover, at most, will mention the name of Moses only once. So why is this so? Why is the most prominent figure of Passover mentioned hardly at all? Well, the reason being is simply this, that when we go through our Haggadah, we learn that it is not an angel, that it is not a seraph, that it is not a messenger that delivered us from Egypt, but it was the Lord himself. So we accentuate the fact that it was the Lord and not Moses and not a seraph, not an angel and not a messenger, but it was the Lord who through a strong hand led us up out of Egypt. Another little question I want to bring to your attention is, why would Pharaoh seek to kill Moses for killing an Egyptian if he was the son of Pharaoh's daughter? I mean, why would Pharaoh want to kill his own grandchild? I know, according to Cecil B. DeMille, we're led to believe that they knew that they didn't know that he was a Hebrew. Did Pharaoh never see his daughter pregnant? Wouldn't he want to know who the father was? And so we have an answer as to why they would want to kill Moses for killing an Egyptian. It would seem quite obvious that Pharaoh knew the child would be a Hebrew, but for the sake of his daughter, he let it be. Knowing he was not a favorite of Pharaoh, killing the Egyptian would have been an offense too great for Pharaoh to overlook. The next oddity I want to bring forth, I've given a caption, excuses, excuses, excuses. Was Moses really a gimgam? Gimgam is a Hebrew for a stutterer. Was he really a stutterer? We read in Exodus 4:10, "But Moses said to Adonai, Adonai, I am not a man of words. Not yesterday, nor the day before, nor since you have spoken to your servant, because I have a slow mouth and a heavy tongue." So Adonai said to him, "Who made man's mouth? Or who makes a man mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, Adonai? Now go, I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say. But he said, please, please send it by somebody else. Moses felt inadequate for the job. If there is a deficiency, we do not know, but let's remember that Jeremiah and other prophets also felt the same way. They felt that they had an uncircumcised tongue. They felt that they were incapable of bringing God's message. It's no easy assignment to speak before power and when they have the authority to take your life. Jeremiah felt that way, but then further in Exodus 6:12, but Moses said to Adonai, Bnei Yisrael have not listened to me, so how would Pharaoh listen to me? I who have uncircumcised lips. And again, he would repeat the very same thing in Exodus 6:30, that he has uncircumcised lips. To say that one is of uncircumcised lips is another way of saying, it's a metaphor of saying that I have an unclean heart, that I am unworthy of the call. And here I want to make note of something that the rabbis teach. There is a tale in Exodus Rabbah 126 that when Moses was an infant on Pharaoh's lap, he reached up and picked up the crown that was on Pharaoh's head. And Pharaoh feared that this was going to be a sign that one day this Hebrew child was going to usurp him and replace him on the throne. So Pharaoh devised a plan that he would set before Moses a shining crown and a burning coal. And when it was set before the baby Moses, Moses naturally reached for the shining crown, but an angel came and redirected his hand to pick up the coal that he would then bring to his mouth, and thus he injured his tongue. Well, I don't put much stock in that, but yet this is one of the stories about it. But the stories aside, did Moses really have a speech impediment? Do we have a definitive answer anywhere? Was this response to God made out of fear, or did Moses say those things simply out of humility? And the answer to our question happens to be found in the Brit Hadashah. Yes, in the Brit Hadashah, where in Acts 7:22, we learn Moses was educated in all of the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was powerful in his words and deeds. So by that inspired account, we have a good and credible answer. In Exodus 7:11, we read, Then Pharaoh called for the wise men and the sorcerers, and they too, the magicians of Egypt, they did the same with their secret arts. So we know that Moses confronted magicians and sorcerers of Egypt, but do we know the names of these sorcerers that Moses confronted? And again, for the answer to that Passover oddity, we look to the New Covenant through the great defense of Acts chapter 7 by the martyr Stephen. I correct myself, but we look at 2 Timothy 3:8 and 9, and we have the names of those sorcerers. It reads, just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, so do these people oppose the truth. But these people will not make any more progress, for their folly, like that of Jannes and Jambres, will be obvious to everyone. Another oddity I've given a caption to, you must have been a beautiful baby. Exodus 2:2 reads, the woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. Do you know of any parent that would say anything differently? When they see their newborn son or daughter, are they going to say anything different but how beautiful that this child is? And I doubt, and heaven help the individual who'll come along who will disagree with the parent's assessment. But Acts chapter 7 and verse 20 tells us something important. It was at this time that Moses was born, and he was lovely in the sight of God. And he was nurtured 3 months in his father's home. Now, let's be real. Isn't every child beautiful in the sight of God? Are we not all his handiwork, his wonders of creation? And this being the case, why would this kind of exception be made only in connection with the birth of Moses? For every child is beautiful. Well, Hebrews 11:23 tells us more. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden for 3 months by his parents because they saw that he was a beautiful child. Everywhere we look, he is a beautiful child. And they were not afraid of the king's edict. So again, what's with this beautiful child that we keep hearing about? Why is it that only Moses is spoken this way? I don't know. Maybe you can furnish me an answer. But the Talmud in Midrash Sota 12a, we were given some reasons. Rabbi Meir said his name is Tov, or good. Rabbi Judah says his name would be Tobiah. Rabbi Nehemiah says she, meaning Moses' mother, foresaw that he would be worthy of the prophetic gift. Others say he was born circumcised. And the sages declare, at the time when Moses was born, the whole house was filled with light. It is written here, and when she saw that he was good, and elsewhere it was written, and God saw the light, and that it was tov, that the light was good. And then lastly, we often look at the Passover account and we omit or do not give much attention to the 6 unsung heroes of Passover. The miracles of Passover were orchestrated by God, but he had certain foot soldiers, female foot soldiers, the ones who made all of this possible. And so we remember 6 great women that enabled Moses to live, that enabled the children of Israel to be freed from Egyptian bondage. And we start with the 2 midwives of Egypt. In Exodus 1:15, Shiphrah and Puah. And then we have the daughter of Pharaoh, who saved Moses' life. We have also his mother, as well as his sister Miriam. And then, of course, his wife Zipporah, who saved his life when the anger of the Lord burned against Moses for his failure to circumcise his son Gershom. So all told, these are oddities of Passover, mysteries of Passover, if you will, but we learn things through the writings of the Brit Hadashah, inspired writings that shed insight into the account of Passover. During the season of Passover, may we all find a wonderful time of inspiration and uplifting as we ever turn our attention to the miracles of God to bring redemption into our lives, the miracles of God that one day is going to bring redemption to every nation. Let us rejoice and be glad at all of these days of the festive times of Passover and Shavuot. Blessings and peace be upon all of you.